Once upon a time, in New York, lived a boy who had little interest in studies. He was absent from school most of the time, but nobody could have ever imagined that this boy would one day grow up and become the acclaimed director known only as Stanley Kubrick. But how did Stanley Kubrick become such a renowned director? And why did he choose the film industry? Or did the film industry choose him? Did he really play drums in the high school jazz band? Was he also a talented photographer? Did he really turn down the Beatles? Is it true that he holds the world record for the longest continuous shoot? Did he really never win an Oscar? How did he acclaim so much success? Were his movies based on real-life events? What was his life like before?
It's time for me to answer all of these questions and more, since this is ASMR. Aaron, back at it again with another daily video to help you relax. So lay back and enjoy the ride. I hope this video gets you through your day, or even better, I hope this read helps you gently fall asleep. I can't wait to get started.
This is the tale of Stanley Kubrick.
Famed filmmaker Stanley Kubrick was born in New York City on July the 26th, 1928, and grew up in the Bronx, New York, where his father, Jacques Kubrick, worked as a doctor, and his mother, Sadie Pervella Kubrick, was a housewife. He had a younger sister, Barbara. Kubrick never took to the classroom. In elementary school, his attendance record was evenly split between days absent and present. In high school, he was a social outcast and the prototypical underachiever, ranking at the bottom of his class despite his intelligence. I never learned anything at school, and I never read a book for pleasure until I was 19, he once said. Kubrick's early ambitions were to become a writer or play baseball. I started out thinking if I couldn't play for the Yankees, I'd be a novelist, he later remembered. Seeking creative endeavors rather than to focus on his academic status, Kubrick played the drums in his high school's jazz band. Its vocalist later became known as A.D. Gorm. Kubrick also displayed early promise as a photographer for the school paper, and at age 16 began selling his photos to Look magazine. A year later, he was hired for the staff of the magazine. When not travelling for Look, he spent most of his evenings at the Museum of Modern Art. Toward the end of his high school career, Kubrick applied to several colleges but was turned down for admission by all of them. Kubrick began to explore the art of filmmaking in the 1950s. His first films were documentary shorts financed by friends and relatives. His first feature, the 1953 military drama Fear and Desire, was made independently of a studio, an uncommon practice for the time. Early into his filmmaking career, Kubrick acted as cinematographer, editor, and sound man in addition to directing. Later, he would also write and produce. Kubrick made 10 feature films from 1957 to 1999. His early releases from that period including the acclaimed Spartacus in 1960, Lolita 1962, based on the novel by Vladimir Nabokov, and Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, 1964. Denied official cooperation from the US Armed Services during the filming of Dr. Strangelove, Kubrick went on to construct sets from photographs and other public sources. Kubrick released his most popular film, 2001, A Space Odyssey, in 1968, after working diligently on the production for a number of years, from co-writing the script with Arthur C. Clarke, to working on the special effects, to directing. The film earned Kubrick 13 Academy Award nominations. He won 1 for his special effects work. While Odyssey was an enormous success, its first public screening was an unmitigated disaster. The film was shown on the same night that Lyndon Johnson announced he would not seek re-election. Coincidentally, it was rumoured that the studio head would lose his job if the film wasn't a hit. When the audience left the theatre in droves, the studio's publicity department said, "Gentlemen, tonight we have lost 2 presidents." The film subsequently garnered a great deal of media coverage and soon became a massive hit. It was still in theatres in 1972, 4 years after its release. In 2018, shortly before the re-release of 2001 in IMAX theatres to commemorate its 50th anniversary, old footage surfaced of Kubrick explaining its enigmatic ending. He said that the character of Dr. Bowman is taken in by godlike entities for study and as such is placed in a human zoo, a bedroom meant to replicate his natural environment. Afterward, he is transformed into this superhuman star child and sent back to Earth, reflecting the pattern of a great deal of mythology. Kubrick went on to win further acclaim with the dystopian A Clockwork Orange, 1971, the costume drama Barry Lyndon, 1975, for which he personally approved each costume for thousands of extras in battle scenes, The Shining, 1980, which evidenced his predilection for multiple takes. He shot one scene with star Jack Nicholson 134 times, and the war drama Full Metal Jacket, 1987, starring R. Lee Ermey, Adam Baldwin and Vincent D'Onofrio. After moving to England in the early 1960s, Kubrick slowly gained a reputation as a recluse. He gradually reduced the time he spent anywhere other than on a studio set or in his home office, refused most interview requests, and was rarely photographed, never formally. He kept to a schedule of working at night and sleeping during the day, which allowed him to keep North American time. During this time, he had his sister Mary tape Yankees and NFL games, particularly those of the New York Giants, which were airmailed to him. Stanley Kubrick died in his sleep after suffering a heart attack at his home in Childwickbury Manor, Hertfordshire, England, on March 7th, 1999, hours after delivering a print of what would be his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, to the studio. The film, starring Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, who were married at the time, went on to earn both commercial and critical acclaim, including Golden Globe and Satellite Award nominations. Kubrick married 3 times. His first union to Toba Etta Metz lasted from 1948 to 1951. He and second wife Ruth Sobotka wed in 1954 and divorced in 1957. The following year he married his third wife, painter Christiane Harlan, also known as Susan Christian. Their union lasted 41 years and produced 2 of Kubrick's 3 daughters, Anya and Vivian. Kubrick also had a stepdaughter, Katharina, Harlan's daughter, from a prior relationship. While Kubrick is generally known as one of the great American filmmakers of the 20th century, the Museum of the City of New York sought to remind fans of his early work as a photographer with an exhibit, through a different lens, Stanley Kubrick Photographs. Set to run from May through September 2018, the exhibit was to display more than 120 works from his time at Look, including a section that showed clear connections between his early photographs and later films. Kubrick shut down the Beatles. When the rights to J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings was first auctioned off to United Artists, Kubrick was approached by the Beatles to direct a film adaptation based on the books, which they would also star in. Kubrick had mixed feelings about producing a film based on a very popular book and sent the Beatles packing, which will always leave us wondering which Beatle would play which Hobbit. Kubrick wasn't alone in his assessment either. Reportedly, Tolkien himself was also against any involvement with the Beatles. It's no secret that Kubrick was a meticulous director who always opted to take as much time as he needed to get the perfect shot and the scene just right. With this in mind, it may come as no surprise to find that Kubrick holds a record in the Guinness Book of World Records for the production of Eyes Wide Shut, which still, to this day, is the longest continuous film shoot spanning 15 months. It's easy to envision that someone as beloved and respected as Kubrick would have Oscars galore. However, over the course of his illustrious 48 years in the director's chair, he never once received an Oscar for his skills as a helmer of cinematic vision. While he was nominated for several awards, the only Oscar he ever received was for the visual effects in 2001: A Space Odyssey. This puts him alongside greats like Federico Fellini and Alfred Hitchcock, who also never received any Academy recognition for their iconic work. And so ends the tale of the great director Stanley Kubrick, who remains in the hearts of his fans for his extraordinary films.